Spinning, perhaps we're live. I think we're live. Hello, everyone. What's going on, Eurovoxers? I just practiced this and I've already forgotten how to say it. Hur är läget?
Perfect.
Perfect? Okay.
Yeah. Läget är bra.
Läget. Okay. I'll make sure that I have
bra.
I'll make sure that I have that even better than I had it this time. But nice to see you. I'm joined by Emma and Sandra, who are both from Sweden, both big Melfest fans, and they're going to be kind of helping me go through this as I talk to you guys. And I want to know what your thoughts are on the songs that have gone directly to the final, the songs that are in Andra Hansen, and the remaining songs, if there's maybe a disappointment. So let's say hello to people who are in the live. Of course, we've got Sarah Halloran, as always. Nice to see you. And Raul B, nice to see you as well. Jade Funky Coffin is saying that he expected more of Daughter and really hoped for a bulletproof upgrade. And he feels like it's a downgrade. Well, I mean, I guess we can start there with Daughter because she is through to the final. I wouldn't say it's a big surprise, but you know, as it tends to be, there are always comparisons to songs from the year before. So let's start with you, Emma. How did you feel about what Daughter brought this time?
I think it's a typical winning feeling in the song, but the chorus is not so powerful as Bulletproof was. But it's still like in this heat, of course, it was the best or the second best in my opinion. Song.
Fair enough. And Sandra, how did you feel? Did you like Bulletproof from last year?
I didn't like Bulletproof last year, actually. So Little Tot is more for people like me that like more the kind of the genre of the song she have, because I think it's more broader than Bulletproof. So I think for the audience in Sweden, I think they can also relate to the lyrics of her song, because it's a very personal song for her because she wrote it with her boyfriend. So for me, it was super emotional watching her because I could feel her emotions when she sung, and I love the staging and the lightning. So for not being a Bulletproof fan, I'm a really big Little Tot fan.
Well, that's good to know, especially since we know that this one is going to be in the final. I have to say that I would say that I enjoy both songs. I think Bulletproof, it really made a statement visually with the light show that she had with the reflective lasers. I remember people calling it, of course, affectionately, the laser boobs, which I thought was really, really funny. So no laser boobs this year, but a pretty solid song, I would say. And in terms of how it was presented visually, quite dark, but really, really elegant in a way. Like it certainly fits the kind of pop anthem that she's going for. Not again, it's probably not the kind of thing that makes a statement in the way that Bulletproof did, but I would say it's still very tasteful. Would you agree, Emma?
Yeah, it will definitely be in the top 2 or top 3 also. I think we will see the same fight as last year with the mamas and Daughter, if nothing very shocking happens, actually.
I mean, it would definitely be good for drama if it came down, if it was just as close as it was last year. You know, I think that it was totally deserved last year because both songs were really, really strong. And in the end, I was really happy that it was the mamas that were chosen. But you know, it's a new year, and we have yet to hear the mama song, so we'll have to see. Let's talk to some of you guys. Sam Ravenbach is saying that he loved Patrick John. Gillian is saying he loved Rama Rama Ding Dong.
I did also.
Me too.
I was to say that. You go ahead.
Yeah. Fun fact about Patrick John, he was like one of the songwriters to the winning song last year.
Yes, and I saw that they talked about that, and also on Instagram, the mamas had kind of given them a little shout out, saying that they were really looking forward to seeing what he was bringing. Unfortunately, he's not. He didn't move on. So you know, unfortunately, the story has ended. But I would say that I really enjoyed that, and I thought it was pop, but it had this kind of elegant femininity to it that was not like really in your face, but you know, it suited the song. And sorry, Sandra, you wanted to say something as well.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about Rena Rama Ding Dong.
Okay.
So yeah, because I think people need this kind of music that makes them happy, and both of those women are huge celebrities, especially Eva Rydberg. She's like super huge in farce theater, and she have made like out to the public in TV and something like that. So I was expecting a song like this because that's how she is. That's how Eva Rose is also. So I was so happy because I needed to forget about my world and hear a song like that. Like, be goofy, have fun, be whatever you want, be yourself. The song is about that. So I was super happy, and I'm so happy that the Swedish people voted for this to be at least AC. They deserve that.
Mm-hmm. And Emma, you wrote for Eurovoxx about the selection last week, how it was both songs in Swedish and how they both had that kind of spirit of, you know, letting things just be kind of happy and ridiculous and not taking things too seriously. So I'm sure that you could definitely see that in the entry from the Evas this time.
Yeah, and like lots of people I talked to said, "Oh, the Evas, they're going to be last. This is silly. This is stupid." But I was like, "No, they are funny. They have everything. They have like the yodeling, the weird dance, and the race in the tones. Of course, very important." So I think this was my favorite tonight. Actually, made me so happy.
It was definitely one of my favorites. At the end of the day, probably like, you know, just thinking ahead to Eurovision, not necessarily that kind of song, but it was still something enjoyable to see. And thinking about last week, like had last week not happened, I would have been like, okay, this isn't gonna go very far. Especially when I was thinking about another Schlager song from last year, Carpool Karaoke, which I thought was like really, really well done, and it came last, unfortunately. But yeah, so.
Yeah, I was just wondering, you that doesn't understand Swedish, or what did you feel like about the lyrics in the song in Rena Rama Ding Dong and everything?
Well, I mean, in terms of lyrics, there really isn't. I have like zero grasp on what is being said, but I mean, with the visuals, you can pick up on the silliness of it, and like it doesn't take a lot to absorb the feeling of it. And I would certainly, I would love to look further into it and get that understanding for myself as far as like what the whole picture is. But at the same time, you don't need to do that in order to have fun. And it was fun.
Yeah.
So Stephen Kendall was saying Patrick had the staging Marood from Albania should have had, and that's interesting. I was thinking about that as well, because I know that he tried to incorporate you know, the femininity in his performance as well. I wouldn't say that was like it was necessarily the staging that did him in, but it was. Are you familiar with this song, Emma?
No.
Okay, it was in the Albanian selection this year, and it was one of the favorites before. Really solid song, I would say, and one that I was happy to add to my library. Sarah Halloran says she wants to give daughter a big kiss. Isn't that sweet? Me too. And she says she needs a little bit of silliness. And Raul says that he wouldn't mind having the grannies from Sweden this year's Eurovision.
Yeah, and like from history, you know that the yodeling works in Eurovision. Of course.
Does it?
Or maybe
share some examples, please, because like for me,
Romania 2017. That's a great example.
That one I know, but like
a classic.
Yodeling from Sweden, or just yodeling in general?
In general.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, and that one, I remember seeing that Romanian song in like people's compilations and being like, okay, this is ridiculous. But then when I watched it, I actually really enjoyed it. So.
It's super good. So
yeah,
I want to talk about a song that I felt was got in the shade. I thought Julia Alfreda's song "Rich" was well produced and well performed, and she had great staging. I'm so sad she didn't at least go AC, because I think it's because she's very, very new to the Swedish people, and Frida is not, because she has been a Swedish idol and Swedish talent, so that matters. But I would love for Julia Frida to get more recognition, because she is super, super talented, and I hope to see her next year in Melfest.
Now, if I'm remembering correctly, Frida is the one that won the Piefur Nesta.
Yes.
How do you say
Yeah.
this?
The
How do you say
radio
it correctly?
P4 nästa.
Piefur Nesta. All right, good, close enough. But anyway, so she is a newcomer, and as part of winning that selection, she got a place in Melfest. So certainly,
Yeah.
you know, it makes sense that perhaps, you know, coming around the first time, the odds might be against her. But I agree with you, Sandra, in that she what she presented was pretty good. How did you feel about Frida's song, Emma?
Yeah, but it was maybe too difficult for the Melfest audience. But I also liked the song. It was very good to come from a debutante in the competition. And as I said earlier, like this song was the one of them who was stuck in my head afterwards. So
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was definitely a contender, and I do think that if she perhaps was you know, a more established artist, then maybe she would have seen a better, you know, a better result. But nonetheless, you know, this is kind of like how it begins, right? And it's equally important for us to remember that just because somebody is participating and not winning doesn't mean that they don't have a future to win Melfest, to win any selection, and or to do anything else. Because, you know, sometimes it's just about being recognized by and having that opportunity to perform for your country.
Yeah, it was like that
Yeah.
with daughter. She didn't do well at all her first year in 2018, and look at her now. She is aiming to win it. She might win this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's just, you know, only 3 years ago. Not to mention that the fact that she came back last year and there was such a close. It was such a close finish, coming down to literally 1 point, 1 televote point, mind you, that decided the winner. Michael says that Frida needs to put more oomph into the performance, needs some high notes to give it some wow factor. How do you feel about that?
As Frida made the song, as I could say, the song was okay. It wasn't kind of typical. You could say Bobby Ljunggren. He's like a very routine. He's been there many times in the Melfest, and you could hear like him. It's like this is a Melfest Eurovision song, but it was kind of slow. The beginning and the end was good, but I think Frida, she made the song. Her voice and her appearance, she made it. Goosebumps all the way.
Yeah, and I think it's also important to remember that with the artists, excuse me, with the artists, and I have dogs here and they get very excited. Anyway, the artists that are established names, you know, they have connections. They especially with Melfest songs, we tend to see many songwriters put on individual songs, and there's a lot of input, a lot of people with experience that and that helps them have an advantage. And when you're a brand new artist, it's very difficult to compete against that. So, you know, as an entry, I think that getting there is already something to be proud of. And then, you know, in the future, maybe she will be able to have that, to be at that level with the other artists. Sandra, there was something else that you wanted to say about Frida?
Yeah, I wasn't the biggest fan of her song, but her voice is so deep and incredible and rich, and well, she have grown up a lot with her voice and have developed her voice. So for me, she is an amazing person also, like, but for me the song was kind of flat, but her chorus was great, but I don't remember a lot of the song more from that. So I can see why Swedish people vote for this, but I can't see it in the final. It depends in what duel she is gonna go against. So I don't know. So I wasn't that impressed, but I'm happy some people liked it.
Mm-hmm. I just realized that I was saying Frida when I meant to say Julia for a lot of these, but no, but it's okay. I remember who we were talking about. So yeah, I kind of bungled the names there, but yes, because Frida is on to the Under Hudson, the second chance round. Julia Alfreda is the newcomer from Kiflinasta. nonetheless, these are the kind of mistakes you make when there are many national selections happening at once. Nonetheless, we haven't spoken that much yet about Anton, who is one of the artists who's going direct to the final. And Sandra, you had some things that you wanted to say about him as well.
Yeah, I was gonna say that I really liked Anton's song because it was my boyfriend. He was gonna get some cola.
Tell him we all say hi.
I really like Anton because I think he have developed from his pop song he had from previous years. He updated it to 2021, but he's still in his era and showing who he is, and he's making a statement with dance moves and showing how happy he is to be back in Sweden and showing us how much he had developed from like the past when he was much younger. So and seeing the emotional part when he went through to DTF, it got me very emotional because that shows how much Melfest meant to him, and be coming back and showing us the person he had become.
And you could see it in the winner's reprise that he did. He was quite emotional to the point where he stopped singing, and he was just kind of taking it all in at one point. So it is great to see that response to his own development. And I have to say, this kind of song, it doesn't surprise me that this kind of thing has gone to the final, because this is a lot more in line with what we have seen from Sweden in the last few years. Would you agree, Emma?
This song has a lot. It has like the very advanced dance. He has a great personality, Anton. He looks in the camera, very charming. And yet, like the footsteps, that's incredible to watch. But one thing is missing. And the thing, the voice, the kind of thing you sing with. I mean, he doesn't have that, actually. He's lip syncing all the time. And when he sings, it's super false.
I see there are some people who would agree with that. Stephen Kendall is saying that his vocals were a car crash, and saying that it was his looks that helped him. I mean, let's not make it so.
No, but he's great. He's a great dancer. He's charming, and he has like the great look for the camera and everything. But he's very. He needs his vocal choir behind him, you could say.
Yeah, perhaps without that, he wouldn't have come off the same way. Nonetheless, I think that another thing that performance had going for it was the light show, which I think just fit everything perfectly, and it really helped it stand out from a visual point of view. Sandra, how are we doing? Everything okay?
Yeah, it's going a lot here. So I'm gonna be home alone tonight, apparently. But I haven't gotten that experience thinking that his vocals are bad. I think because it was a very heavily backing vocalist song. I think that it's when he sings alone, I think people are kind of like thinking that he doesn't have strong vocals. And some people don't have strong vocals, but they are still pop singers and still can make a show and still can do a great performance. So for me, this wasn't about the vocals. For me, it was the whole package with the backing vocals, with the dancers, with the light show, with everything. and stuff like that. So for me, the vocals aren't always that so important to make an impression to people.
Mm-hmm. And I suppose that the production can sometimes highlight certain things a bit more than other certain weak points, or it could, if it's well executed, it could conceal certain things. Obviously, a lot of people are picking up on the fact that maybe it wasn't up to par, but at least the votes show that it resonated with enough people. And now I'm thinking, we've kind of covered the basis. We haven't said much about Vol featuring Sammy. Did anybody really like that performance? So.
I think for the radio, I do believe that song is gonna be very popular. But for Melodifestivalen, for me it didn't fit in the purpose of showing off that hip hop and rap song is going to be more hip and modern. For me, this was like you wanted to impress, but it didn't impress enough, because I know those two people are super talented rapper and songwriters, and they can make amazing music. This for me was a downgrader to hear, but it was poppy. It was, you can groove to it, but it wasn't Melfest quality for me, because when I heard like Anis Don Demina, Vem är som oss, like last year, that was a totally different vibe than this song. So for me, it's like, it also depends on the persons, how they perform. But I think it was a solid song, and I believe it's gonna be a radio hit on some for a time after this, when it's gonna be published. So I do believe in some cases that for their audience, they are gonna hype this song up.
Go ahead, Emma.
Yeah, I think it was kind of boring. Something was missing. It was so, like, for me, nothing was happening in the song. And for, like, when you, as you said, Sandra, they had made lots of great songs before. For example, Miss Decibel with Medina.
Yeah.
And I was like expecting that, something happy, like Anis Don Demina last year, is something that would really cheer us up. But I think Eva and Eva, they took that part to it instead.
Yeah.
And they would really disappointed me, these rappers.
Yeah, I suppose, because when I heard the snippet of it, it was actually my favorite going into the show, and it was more because of the atmosphere that it had. And I get that they're kind of hip hop artists, but it wasn't like a hip hop feeling song. It was more like it had a groove, as you mentioned, Sandra, and then it really picked up when the percussion went into that double time kind of thing. But yeah, you know, I see it as being of having it. Sorry, I see it as having its merits. I agree with you, Emma, in the sense that there was something missing that, you know, maybe when we're talking about the Melfest audience, it needed that X factor. And yeah, certainly when it comes to the looking for that song that makes people want to dance and have fun, it's you got to be really, really the one that stands out in that sense. But yeah,
there was something dark about it, I think. It was some kind of dark music production. They needed something more going up, you could say.
Yeah, because it was about being nostalgic from the 90s, and they wanted to reach out to those who grew up in the 90s and was born in the 90s. But I didn't feel that connection with the lyrics. So I didn't know what story they wanted to tell. I know they said in the introduction that they wanted to show their love for the 90s, but for me, I didn't feel that connection with the staging or the presence from the whole package. I think it from the lyrics and from the staging, it didn't connect for me.
Yeah, so I don't know. I guess probably be a learning experience, or you know, maybe when this, you know, come next year when we're in different circumstances, we will see songs get responded to in different ways. So I think we've kind of covered everything. Should we? Was there anything else that we didn't cover that you guys want to say, or should we move on to?
Oh my God!
Next week,
the whole show with Oscar Sia and Anis Don Demina, it was like one of the best shows I have seen in years.
Very entertaining, yeah.
It was so entertaining, and like I feel like I could laugh for the first time for years in Melfest. Like, it didn't feel like forced. It just felt like they showed us who they are, and they wanted to feel like we are a family together and we celebrate this together. And they showed it like for the real and true self, like who they are. And I loved it. And for me, that live Study Years, they made one of the best covers of Study Years I ever have heard in my life.
I would say their kind of way of hosting gave me the same feeling as Arvingarna last week. It was easy, it was reliable, and it was warm and just like entertaining, happy. And that's what we need right now, is two happy people, not to... I think last week was kind of depressing in some kind of way. They were sitting in their chairs in the studio and talking.
Yeah.
And it was a good thing that they got more space, like the happy young guys, instead of Christer Björkman, actually.
Well,
he called himself like the mellow grandpa, so...
The mellow grandpa.
Yeah. Exactly. That was a good...
I'm sure that there's a number of people out there who would probably call him like Mellow Daddy or something like that. Nonetheless, it's a great approach that they have this year, that every week we're going to be having this different dynamic of hosts, and they'll be bringing a different feeling to the show. So we're going to wrap things up because Dora is about to finish, and we'll be getting our sixth song for Eurovision 2021. But before we go, Emma, tell me, who are you most looking forward to seeing for semifinal 3 in Melfest?
Oh my God, I forgot almost.
But I will
please
go through the names. So we've got Charlotte Perrelli with Still Young, Emil Assergaard.
Emil Assergaard.
Assergaard with a song title in Swedish, Clara Hammerström with Beat of Broken Hearts, Mustache with Contagious, Elisa with Den du är. That's my guess.
Yeah, good.
Alvaro Estrella with Something I Can Say, Baila Baila, and Tusse with Voices.
Okay, I will say Charlotte Perrelli, Emil Assergaard, and Tusse. I look most forward to see.
Okay, and you, Sandra?
Tusse and Charlotte Perrelli, of course. But mostly Tusse, because I know how rich and powerful his voice are. And I do believe he can be a contender for top 5 in the final.
He's a joker. He's some kind of a challenger, I think.
Yeah, and he's famous for singing "Rise Like a Phoenix."
I've seen that. Yeah, it was really, really
so
spectacular.
People are super excited to see him making a show in the love he have for the competition, and I hope he's gonna have a big song. So
me too.
It's supposed to be hopeful, I heard.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a pop ballad or a poppy song.
Okay, he's one of the ones that I'm definitely looking forward to. And I'm also going to say Clara, because I liked her song from last year, and I was quite surprised that it came last in that semifinal. So hopefully she'll get some redemption this time around.
Yeah, I hope so too, because she's super good.
Michael Forbes is looking forward to... How did you say her name? Because I just said Charlotte, like in an English
Charlotte Perrelli.
Charlotte Perrelli. And Pam is looking forward to Mustache. Is there more
me too. Actually,
Mustache is one of Sweden's most popular rock bands, and if you think about Lilla Sister's success in last week, I think Mustache will go second chance or final, of course.
Yeah, I think things are really being shaken up this time around. So we'll leave it there, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. If you come back in like 10 minutes, we'll be talking about Dora, in case you missed that, or if you're watching it alongside everything else that's happening, because obviously there's shows in Norway. But nonetheless, be sure to subscribe to Eurovoxx, because we are following all of the national selections as they happen, and we're keeping updated on all things Eurovision. You can follow us at Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And our website is eurovoxx.tv, where you can find news articles and other things by the lovely contributors that I have to this side, such as Emma and Sandra. So we'll leave it there, guys. Thank you so much for joining us, and maybe we'll see you again in a few minutes. And if not, enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we hope to see you soon. Take care, guys.
Take care.